Joining me now is Mark Weinstein, the founder and CEO of MeWe, not just a Facebook alternative, the anti-Facebook, so to speak. And we're going to get into why you need to get off of Facebook onto another platform, the benefits of it, where you're not going to get fact-checked for posting memes, have your newsfeed manipulated by algorithms, and your privacy is not going to be compromised.
Thank you, Mark. And listen, it's great to be with you. And this is such an important conversation. You know, we're still all starting to learn and understand about the creep that's looking over our shoulder and watching everything that we do, but we can't see the creep. And the creep, unfortunately, is Facebook. The creep is actually something called surveillance capitalism. And this is the mainstream social media giants today, where they watch and they collect and they aggregate and they study everything that you say, everything that you do, and they put it all into a data packet. They know your emotions. They know your voting, you know, how you think. They know everything about you. Let's just say they know your politics, your religious affiliations, your sexual preferences, your finances, your health issues, your friends, your emotions. They know it all. As you said, I have a TED Talk about this called The Rise of Surveillance Capitalism. There are great books about this now. And so what we have to do is we have to vote. We have to vote by getting off these platforms. We've got to let the free market is the only thing that can work to get this straightened out. Let's not look for government regulation. That's just going to institutionalize surveillance capitalism. And we know, even if there are laws about how they should protect our data, they don't. It's just the cost of doing business. They pay the fines. So Mewi, the first social network that I built was back in 1998. So I was there at the beginning. I understand what social media is about and what it's for. And social media is for us, Mark, you and I, to connect with our friends, our family, our coworkers, our common interests, our new interests, and to really use, communication technology so far beyond, email, which is email is like ancient technology, in a really delightful way, and stay connected with people around the world. That's what it's for. It's for actually making our lives better authentically. It's not for, some kind of facade of our lives. And if you want that, of course, I like to say Facebook is for the facade of your life, your pretend life, and MeWe is for your real life. So we built it.
And you've had an influx of users, I would imagine, over the last few months. And as people are finally starting to learn that Facebook is really, I think, an evil corporation, what's it going to take to turn Facebook into MySpace, where people just all of a sudden one day never log in again? And aside from the privacy issues, which is extremely important, your algorithms, you want to get into that? Your algorithms are not manipulated. Is that correct? Whatever people post is what shows up in people's feeds. So you're not into manipulating the users like Facebook is, and perhaps they had proper intentions. Well, actually, not from the day one. Mark Zuckerberg didn't have proper intentions, I guess, now that I think about it. But you want to get into the importance of the algorithm manipulation and how that power has been wielded and abused by these big tech platforms?
Well, that's exactly what surveillance capitalism is all about. Surveillance capitalism. It's a mouthful, right? But it's real. So their algorithms, boost inflammatory content into your newsfeed. They decide if you're going to see the post from your mother, your brother, your best friend, or the page that you're following, or the group that you're in. Their algorithm decides everything. MeWe doesn't have a timeline algorithm or any kind of algorithm that aggregates and analyzes your data, anything about you. MeWe's timeline for you is just in timeline order, our newsfeed. Our newsfeed is the most popular feature. Now listen, you've got news feeds. We have everything that you love. We've got disappearing content. We've got stories. We've got journals. We've got live voice and live video. We've got great, news feeds for your contacts, for your close friends, for your pages, for your groups. We have everything that you love about social media, but none of the BS, and everything in your news feeds is simply timeline order coming in from your pages, your groups, and your contacts and your friends, etc. So it's very straightforward. It's common sense. And the actual average time per visit on MeWe is longer, 7 minutes longer than the average time per visit on Facebook, because you're really connecting and you're really seeing everything that the people and the groups, everything you're connected to is sharing. And we're not getting in the way. We're not pumping anything in there trying to manipulate a purchase decision because there are no advertisers, there are no marketers. Our MeWe, our members are customers to serve, not data to target or sell.
That brings to my next question: is if there are no advertisers, how do you get revenue? And I see that you've had some big rounds of funding. You're not just a guy in your garage building a website. You seem to have a pretty solid infrastructure and fairly well funded system over there. So if you're not advertising, how is it that you're able to operate?
Listen, it's really my favorite question because, the idea of surveillance capitalism is a complete distortion of what great capitalism is. Great capitalism is all about delighting your customer and then they're loyal to you. So MeWe is a freemium model. So everything you need to have a great social network experience is free on MeWe. And then we have extra custom features. And we also have a premium membership. So the things I mentioned before, disappearing content groups, you want to follow pages, your news feeds. There's so many, there's countless features that are free. And let's say you want live voice and live video. You want journals, so you can turn your stories into journals instead of having them disappear, which is an incredible feature. You want 100 gigs of storage instead of 8. 8 gigs is tons anyhow, but 100 gigs. Because of MeWe, you have a personal cloud for everything you ever post, so it's really easy for you to search your archives. We have a lot of really cool features, and we have a custom emoji, custom sticker, and custom theme store also. All that is bundled in for $5 a month, $4.99 a month, from the MeWe Premium member. We only need about 3% of our members to sign up for Premium to fund the operations, to fund the company, and we have almost 20 million members now. So our revenue model works perfectly, and also we're always listening to our members because they're our customers. Advertisers and marketers are not on the platform. So we listen to our members, we identify what they want. We'll have more features coming. We have a 75-page document on the feature set on MeWe, and people love it. Mark, we should just mention that in the stores, Apple Store, the Play Store, for Android, that we have almost 400,000 reviews. We've never paid anybody to review us. We have an average 4.4 out of 5 rating. On the Apple Store, Facebook has a 3.1. MeWe is social done right.
And I guess we need to get away from this business model of free. We've sort of come to expect Facebook's free, everything's free. And then, of course, it's kind of the cliche, but true, then that means that you're the customer. And so, I pay just a few dollars a month to have a page on MeWe. So I guess we need to shift the users need to shift. Americans, everyone around the world, I guess, needs to shift their viewpoint about how these services are working. And, I pay for a cell phone, you pay for cable, you're not paying for Facebook. So am I correct in thinking that?
But you don't have to pay for MeWe. Sorry, remember, you don't have to pay for MeWe. Now, you mentioned you're paying $1.99 a month to have a page so that you can have followers, because you want a page where you can broadcast to your followers. Now imagine this great value proposition. So you pay $24 a month for a page, and then you reach 100% of your followers 100% of the time in timeline order in their news feeds if they're following your page. At Facebook, if you've got, 1 million followers, you reach about 5%, 50,000 people. That's what's average, 2 to 5%. Then you have to pay to boost anyhow. You never reach them all because the algorithm gets in the way. At best, you might reach 20, 25%. The value proposition is completely different. But I want our listeners to, remember that MeWe is free. It's free forever. So a subset of our members upgrade. That supports the company. That's all that we need. Just like a gaming company. It's really, think of it like a gaming company. You can play the game for free. You can make some in-app purchases.
Now, it seems when you set this up that your view is on the privacy, which is a great idea, a business model that is much better than Facebook. But now everyone, or half the country at least, is concerned about censorship. And 3 or 4 years ago, in 2016, before that, from Facebook's early days through maybe 2017, not a lot of concern about censorship on Facebook. If somebody posted something that any reasonable person would understand is, absurd, obscene, threatening, etc., would get taken down. Everybody can agree on reasonable moderation practices, which they almost used to have And then, as you know, it's shifted and they keep moving the goalpost. They fact checked a Martin Luther King meme that I put up with him with a Make America Great Again hat on. That adds a strike to my page. So, aside from putting annoying fact checks on memes and content, let's get into, and maybe you got to make some tough decisions regarding moderating content as this technology gets more complex, as societal issues become increasingly complex as well. How are your moderation decisions? I guess, can people say that they don't trust vaccines? Can people, make jokes that certain groups of people may find offensive? Are scientists or laymen allowed to say things about, transgender people or other issues? Let's get into that, because that's probably more important even than perhaps turning over user data to a company.
I don't really understand what happened with Facebook and Twitter, and these guys and the double standards they've created. Like you said, you need, for people to have civil conversations, there must be some moderation. And this is where MeWe distinguishes itself, from, let's say, the less moderation, Gab, Parler, etc. MeWe has, we are all about civil discourse. We've always been that way. And we launched in 2016. We do have, as you said, privacy. So there's a privacy bill of rights for our members up front. There's a poison pill in our privacy policy, so we can't just change it willy-nilly, nor could anybody, if we ever got acquired, change it willy-nilly. We like to say that Facebook would have been out of business 6 years ago if they had had our poison pill in their privacy policy. And then, you look at, we had terms, we launched with our terms of service. It's very straightforward. And, remember, the premise of democracy, Mark, you know this, the premise of democracy is that we disagree. I don't know what's happened here. What's happened, with Facebook and Twitter? I mean, the premise of democracy is that we disagree, and we can disagree civilly, and we can all live together, and we can have dinner together. And, I love the example of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Anton Scalia. Completely opposite ends of the spectrum. They were best friends. They went on elephant safaris together. They drank wine together. Best friends. That's the America that I believe in. And whether if you have an opinion about a vaccine or some kind of health remedy, or you're a progressive or a conservative, why is that any of my business? If, however, you incite violence, you post hateful content, you dox, you bully, you're into porn, things like that, you're out. And, we do have a jail system, things like that. But, there is no such thing as corporate politics at MeWe that get in the way of, just, common sense moderation. I don't know why those guys have decided to politicize their platforms. I don't get it.
I get it. I think it's the power, and it's hard to resist the ability to control what so many tens of millions, billions of people see and hear every day, as opposed to just allowing a platform for the neutral conversation between peer-to-peer individuals. And so,
look at the cost. Mark, can I jump in here? Look at the cost. These guys are interfering with democracy. They're also interfering with, critical thinking and free will, because you can't have critical thinking if they're producing and boosting content in your newsfeed and letting advertisers and marketers boost into your newsfeed based on your emotions, based on your thoughts, based on your decisions. And that's the data that they have. There was a reporter like a year and a half ago who asked Facebook, how much data do you have on me? He's just a regular guy, 600,000 pages of data. Cambridge Analytica got all that data, and all that data on 220 million American adults, and then sold that data to the Russians and others, and that data is still available in the black market. This is incredibly dangerous. Now, I didn't start a social network to fix that problem, but our social network, by design, supports democracy, supports free speech, supports critical thinking, supports privacy.
And do you have a trending list over there? I mean, there's Facebook and Twitter, they created this sort of self-fulfilling prophecy by injecting topics, manually curating them into a top 10 list, then getting people to think that it's the most top 10 tweeted or talked about subject. Then it becomes the most top. So I think they can't resist, and it's hard to resist. It's sort of like the Lord of the Rings, whoever has that ring, they just need that power. And so it's just disgusting to see someone who's built a career through social media, myself, what's happened to these platforms. So, we have Parler and Gab are sort of the Twitter alternatives. MeWe is the most viable, from what I see, and the largest user base Facebook alternative. You want to get into some of the users who are over there. Obviously, I have a very conservative audience, but I saw Diamond and Silk have maybe 100,000 followers over there. So it's not a small group of users over there. Who are some of the bigger names that my audience might know, and even others outside of my political sphere? Who's on MeWe?
First of all, I want to remind everybody, uh, when you run a company the right way, and doing well by doing good, then there's no incentive for us to shift our business model. Our business model works, and we've got already we've doubled in membership at least over the last 3 years every year. This year we believe we're going to get close to 45 million members. Next year we think we'll get close to 100 million members. And as you mentioned earlier, we've raised about $24 million from high net worth investors. We control the company. It's very important. And so, the cohort of, what does an average user do on MeWe is really not about politics. Certainly, I mean, look, Kelly Slater, great surfer, just set up his
Nice.
page, which is, really cool. I know Layla Ali recently set up her page. Undefeated boxer, Muhammad Ali's daughter. I mean, the governor of South Dakota has her page. Some Congress members of Congress have their pages, but MeWe is really a social network. So I want everybody to remember that politics is actually a very small part of MeWe. We have hundreds of thousands of open groups, never mind your private groups with your family and friends and whoever you want to hang out with. But we have hundreds of thousands of open groups. But it's really about music and entertainment and sports and lifestyle. Certainly medicine, alternative medicine, all kinds. Bikers. You can start a group if you're down in San Diego. Want to go biking, whether it's on a motorcycle or on a bicycle. In the canyons, or hikers. MeWe. That's MeWe. And interestingly enough, when we launched in 2016, the first political groups that came over were Bernie Sanders groups because they felt they were getting censored on Facebook. Now, recently, in the last several months, we've had a wave of conservatives come over because, of course, we all know what happened there. But MeWe is really, I call it the new mainstream. MeWe's for everybody, and you hang out with, like-minded people, or you explore new ideas, or you just, connect with your family and friends. Right now, our members have, moving up between 15 and 20 contacts per person, which is great because it started about 3 or 4. You can find people on the platform, and you can bring people over. MeWe's happening. MeWe is the new mainstream. Now, remember, Facebook's a giant. So you will never hear me say, "Oh, we can take down Facebook." But for people who are becoming aware. And, we all look at Facebook as a bad relationship. It's like, the worst relationship with irreconcilable differences. And we're all just looking around for our next partner, and we're just waiting, and as soon as we see it, we're out of there. People are abandoning their Facebook, their legacy of Facebook. They don't care. And MeWe is here.
And I guess you're right, because the Democrats saw the Cambridge Analytica scandal as being a reason to exit Facebook. Conservatives have seen the algorithm, and everybody knows the algorithm manipulation. So that's great. So I'm going to have to ask you this, and I know this is going to stun some of the audience, and I'm curious to hear. I kind of think I know the answer, but I just want to get on the record. Some people are going to hear about it, and they're going to see it in the comments, and oh my God. So you did work for the Obama administration. So do you want to get into that and how
let's get that straight.
What you did,
Yeah.
and how your personal political beliefs and aren't interfering in the moderation decisions in the business that you're running?
Great question, man. Thank you. I did not work for the Obama administration. There was a committee created during the Obama era called NSTIC, and it was a high-level committee that was deciding the future of privacy and whether we should all have identities in cyberspace. And so when I was invited to be a member of that committee, of course, I said yes, because I did my, back in 2012, I had interviewed on Fox and I said, Facebook has got this privacy thing wrong and we got to fix it. So it didn't matter to me whose administration that was. And here's what happened, Mark. It was rather comical because at every committee meeting, the conversation was, how can we, with the other people, other members, how can we create an identity system so that we know exactly who somebody is every time they're on the web? And I was the guy, the ornery guy in the room saying, are you freaking kidding me? We're never going to do that. That's a complete destruction of privacy. It's a terrible idea. And I just towed that line the whole time. It was such a bad idea. And I'm so glad that they asked me to be on that committee. So go ahead.
Yeah, and that's why I want to bring that up because there's certain careers that and consultants and experts that need to be brought aboard and consult with the government that don't necessarily have a political tinge, and so I know that people are going to be asking about that, so I wanted to get directly from the horse's mouth on that. I appreciate that. What is your take on Australia? And I think they sort of backed down a little bit, maybe on blocking news sites. There's talk that Canada may do it, or they're going to charge Facebook in order to link to them. What's the rationale for that? Who's benefiting from that? And maybe for those who haven't even heard about those issues, you want to get into that because I've been hearing that was coming for years. Then we saw Australia appear to do it or was on the verge of doing it. Why would a country pass a law so that you're not allowed to post a link to a news website unless you or Facebook pays them, when users posting those links are driving traffic to the website in the first place? Help us understand that.
It's an interesting law. For us, because we don't amplify and boost. Remember, Facebook is always boosting content into news feeds. They're always, always, always boosting links, boosting content. It's not coming from a friend. They're also creating original content and boosting it in your news feed. But at MeWe, we actually have, since this happened, we've been inviting all the Australian news organizations. Come on over to MeWe. Get yourself a MeWe page. Get your followers following your page. Post, because they can post whatever they want. They don't have to pay us. They create their page. They post whatever they want. There's no boosting. There's no amplification, but they can, get. And people in Australia are pissed. Now, there was a deal made today, but we believe people in Australia are still pissed. There's a lot of people really around the world who have this is what we talked about, irreconcilable differences. This does actually affects us in a good way because we're just inviting all the news organizations, just get your page on MeWe and get your followers and communicate with them as much as you want.
So did Australia do that, and is Canada considering that because specifically of the algorithm manipulation, because the playing field is not level anymore, and so they're not getting, certain organizations aren't getting content? Or what? I mean, what was, you would think, it seems counterintuitive, so I haven't looked into it, but why would they not encourage, share the links, follow the page? What's the business decision there behind a government wanting to do that, though?
Like you, we're inviting those organizations to come to MeWe. We understand that Facebook is an unfair player, and I want to speak to something that's really important about news organizations and Facebook right here. And I think this is actually even more important. Imagine that 50% of Facebook users only get their news on Facebook. Now, this is actually the truth. This is fact. So Facebook gets to decide what 50% of its users, that means, over 1 billion people, what news they're seeing, and therefore Facebook gets to decide how they think. Now, this is actually very dangerous. This also means that Facebook gets to decide what news organization thrives, because the more circulation a news organization has, the more revenue they make, because the higher prices that they can sell to their advertisers. So if you start to look at this, the whole system is a mess. And Facebook is actually controlling a massive amount of news distribution and what the news stories are that get distributed around the world. So there's much bigger issues here that we need to tackle and fix. And I think this is all baked into it. And again, I haven't studied this exactly further, but I know for our team, what we did was because we're democracy and me, we were like, come over here, all you news organizations, get your pages on MeWe. Tell everybody that's reading your stuff that you're on MeWe, and then they can come over and they can follow you and they'll get all your news.
And maybe one more question here. I appreciate your time. I'm on MeWe. Come and follow me. Of course, the link's in the description below. I've seen a lot of other people that I admire on MeWe, so I wanted to get you on and I want to help it grow just from seeing what the company
Sean
was
Hannity
doing.
is on MeWe.
I thought it was good. Why do you think Mark Zuckerberg is actually? I think I know this. I just want to get your assessment. He's trying to get into the cryptocurrency world. They were trying to launch Libra, put it on pause. They may launch Diem. It looks like they changed the branding of it as a way to sort of keep everybody in the Facebook ecosystem. Have you been following that aspect as a way for them to try to keep people locked financially into the Facebook ecosystem? And what are the implications of a Facebook cryptocurrency?
I followed the Libra conversation very carefully. I've been watching and going to conferences, and we have advisory board members very close to cryptocurrencies, the Bitcoin, all that. The Libra initiative was, to me, it was just so transparent. It was a Facebook land grab, to try and preempt, the sort of world financial currency systems, and kind of take it over. I mean, it was pretty obvious what they were attempting to do, and it was kind of like bold in a disgusting way. Um, I think this also raises the question of regulation. Should Facebook be regulated? And my position, I wrote in the Wall Street Journal about this, is that I compete with Facebook. They're not a monopoly, but allowing Facebook to try and monopolize certain systems, like the world currency system, that's very dangerous. Allowing Facebook to, monopolize data, that's very dangerous. But it's got to be the free market where MeWe can perform and people can learn about MeWe and people can vote by getting off Facebook, getting off Twitter, and coming to MeWe. And I invite everybody. It doesn't matter about your politics. Maybe you don't even care about politics, or if you do or not, maybe you just want to feel respected and loved as the customer that you are and trust the company that you're doing business with. That's MeWe. Let's MeWe.
Appreciate your time. Final question here. How can we get the network effect going? Because a lot of people don't go to these newer platforms because their friends aren't there, and then their friends don't go there because their other friends aren't there. And so then it's kind of this chicken and the egg scenario. So that's why I'm there. I've seen Diamond and Silk there, some other people there. What's your data showing for the exodus from Facebook, for the growth? I guess you said you're expecting X amount of millions of viewers. Just, I guess, if you want to roll with that, and then appreciate your time, we can wrap it up.
Sure. Happy to. This will be the first year that we reach out. Now, listen, we've gotten almost 20 million members without influencers helping us grow. Now's the time to connect with the right influencers around the world. We're translated into 20 languages. We were number one in Hong Kong for the last 3 months. I mean, MeWe is a worldwide phenomenon. 50% of our traffic is international outside of North America. The key now is to make MeWe a household name. Right now, if you talk to people, a lot of people haven't heard of MeWe. I love that. Nobody's heard of MeWe, and we're 20 million people already. What happens when everybody's heard of MeWe? So, Mark, with your help, and we're reaching out to influencers. Remember, a lot of influencers, on Facebook participate in the Stop Hate for Profit movement. They boycotted Facebook. There's a lot of people around the world, even influencers, great influencers, sports stars, entertainment, music, film, medical, all kinds of influencers who are ready. And so part of it this year, we believe that, maybe half of our growth or more from us connecting with influencers and influencers coming to the platform to amplify the message, and us connecting with marketing teams around the world and amplifying the message that MeWe is here.
Mark Weinstein, founder and CEO of MeWe. Mewi.com. The link is in the description below. So follow me over there. Spread the word, share this interview, and let's MySpace Facebook. Thanks again for your time.
Thanks, Mark. Great talking to you.